All humans use tools. Humans also divided into two sections, man and women. The difference was decided by the seventh organ, which varied. This was the reproductive organ, or genitalia. Apart from that, the rest functioned the same. In stage 9, the humans wanted divisions that reflected far more categories of the boxes, and their categories multiplied like the 4 elements of ancient times multiplied into an entire periodic table. Divisions by skin, sexual preference, hairstyles dominated the categories. Hardly anyone could keep up with pleasing all of them, so everyone stopped communicating. At this point, they aspired to be machines because the machines didn't argue. Humans also loved and had sex with machines in stage 9. This was because humans' expression of love towards other humans was simplified to a handful of chemicals. This began to be available at chemists in the form of pills sold by huge pharmaceutical companies. The Cains also had programmed and reduced their interaction to basic animalistic level of carnal interaction. Modern queens injected plastic fillers to mimic porn stars on the internet. They were completely under the control of the aesthetics of a handful of people who programmed it. Women's bodies, shaped at the back, looked as though they were already on their hands and knees, but they were stood upright. Many women who didn't possess the new standard of fake beauty were seen as a curse to society and was hidden and muted from social media. The price for this was becoming invisible. This also applied to men who rejected the order. The goal of man was the most confused since time began. All human ideas was working to destroy humans. Modern life always took precedence over the ancient lifestyles. What aspect of modernization became priority? Hunger, shelter, health. We lived longer, but our attention span and IQs dropped. We were given knowledge, but only used 8% of the brain. We were given computers, but 80% searched porn. We were given money, but 1% owned it. We're more depressed and lonely and more stupid and more poor. How is this possible? The journey of humans came hand in hand with aging in a world where other spirits and other dimensions didn't age. Every generation felt they had the answer and left debris, layers and layers of ideas and experiments. People suffered cultural, historical amnesia. Therefore, documentation of their experience became the most important act for humans. Using this, they would modernize their culture and existence. Whoever documented history was considered the leader and their leading voice of existence. Modernization now was data-driven. Data. Both Cains and gods exploited this need for documentation by humans to learn about humans. For gods, concept of love had begun to die, and they wanted to know why. The Cains felt the same about hate and fear. They needed data to switch up the gear. Humans get old. Everything had an urgency. Documentation and keeping a record or data was to become the most defining goal of humans in the current world. This weakness in man would go on to become his biggest Achilles heel as machines began to study every act and thought and emotion and action of 9 billion humans in stage 9. With all this documenting obsession they had as a species, they still had no idea where they came from. Every generation would come up with theories that completely contradict each other. They cut the brain this way and that way, cut the DNA this way and that way, and never really found one way of thinking. Humans would write something, and the demons would put out a counter story. Then the gods would print their own version, and then the warriors wrote their own. spirits wandering around, the avenues of beliefs began to expand. Each group wanted their own version of what to believe. Politics was another invention of man, a space where crossover pockets between man-warrior, warrior-god, and man and demon existed. It was a tool for control, and it only served the Cains these days. More weapons, more blood spill, more believers killed, more people enslaved, more people in debt they can't pay off for generations. More signs removed, more divisions amongst mankind, and more warriors worked for Cains, doing the job of the unseeable deeds, unspeakable greed, without ever seeing who the shadow leader is. The government paid a group of men and women called police, and the police were ill-equipped to deal with other dimensional disputes. Men always invent things inspired by God, and then it turns evil once decoded by Cains and rewired. This happens with the act of spreading something. If you start something in a village, by the time the whole country embraced it, the meaning or the intention or the effect changed to be the opposite. Therefore, the spreading of something became an industry. The Cains owned the spreading. They owned the spreading of ill propaganda, news, and the spreading of disease, and the spreading of any type of vice, and how wealth spread and spreading, fear, like spreading of a population that no longer needed God. The gods created flowers, the demons grew fake flowers in a lab. Gods made cool animals, demons made animals in a lab. God made rivers overnight and demons made bridges overnight. Humans polluted the river and no one could clean it up. Gods watch YouTube clips, night after night without blinks. They watch videos that had billion hits, which algorithm had clicks. He said, "We are fake, and the science was everything. He made dumb people rich. He numbed them, then dumbed them, and gave them more drugs. He turned the entire education system to run on fear and train them to act as herds. Yet they attack people for any crap they heard. It's absurd. They've cancelled gods based on words. God studied beliefs and disbelief. Oh my God, good grief. We need something. Get our wisdom back from a thief. We can't go backwards. We can only go forwards. If he holds the wisdom from our book, he stole a leaf. All the black magic he controls can't be that deep. All the evil he unleashes, there must be a way to try to beat. We can save the gods, we'll make the people see. Yeah, people love receipts. Let's get the gods of wisdom from India to Greece. Prepare them to fight to show people deceit. Actually, he killed the gods in Greece. The devil gave them all seats. He took all the knowledge and the banking systems and killed them with real receipts. But what about gods from other cultures? Bring them, let's meet. Devils bringing hell to earth, and we need to stop the heat. They won't tolerate others to this device. None of them are brothers, especially Muslim and Jews who have the same dad, different mothers. And these devices are tethered. They think it's snakes and ladders. It's a game to him. We need to use all of the weathers. But we divided love equally. Why will people be confused? He used revolution as bait and racial divide as hate, and gender equality is late. The Cains began to infiltrate people's emotions used against them. He studied how they communicate. He used their words on them and convinced them truth was fake, and the fake was great. So they had the same amount of belief and nothing, just mistake. Warriors started to fall in the trap and Cain started to overtake. Angels became witches and the spells they started to make. God became non-existent and the universe was at stake. All the money went to tempt people, to the rents they started to inflate. These rich and the famous celebrities were hired to debate what they rate. Most of the things they generate kept humans asleep, not awake. If you questioned it, you're shark bait. They gang up and feed the hate. It defeated the purpose of what we were trying to make. It's impossible to stop him overtake on devices they create. Like people that noticed were imprisoned, caught on tape. Any gods who fought it were accused of rape, because it wasn't just race, it was everything human face, from mind, body, spirit. Everything was laced.
Oh